suitcase. When I entered my parents' house, I saw the small brown suitcase standing in the center of the room and walked around it, as if it were not there at all. Once again, my father is going away for a weekend. It has become a permanent arrangement. 3 Sabbaths at home with Mother, and the 4th one with Ava. But in my well-mannered household, no one speaks of it. They pretend it isn't happening. Only the atmosphere hovering in the room is stiffer, more difficult, and oppressive than any harsh words. Although I have popped in for a brief visit, I now feel I should extend my stay so that they won't sense that I've noticed. So I continue chatting naturally to my father. We both stand stiff like telegraph poles beside the small brown suitcase. Its presence permeates the room with a thundering silence. Before I take leave, or rather, don't take leave of him, I am careful not to allow words like, "till we meet again," or "enjoy your trip," to slip off my tongue, even though I know that my father will disappear for the next 3 days. He will return on Sunday, and for the whole of that day, my mother will be sullen, and he will try not to make his presence felt so as not to anger her. The next day, life will return to normal until the little brown case appears once more in the entrance hall. I've always found it difficult to express my emotions. I inherited this trait from my parents, who were born in Holland. Everything about them was under control all the time. Beautiful on the surface, and what wasn't beautiful didn't exist anyway. I always envied other families who could explode in a second and scream at one another without any dire consequences, like the end of the world. I'm used to storing things up inside, to disguising my feelings and resentments, and revealing only what I want to be seen. "What should I buy Ava for her birthday?" my mother would ask each year. The calendar that hung on the wall in my parents' bathroom was marked with birthdays of all our relatives and friends. Ava's birthday was also there. I never understood how one can both loathe someone and think about what to buy them for their birthday at one and the same time. In the end, unable to restrain myself, I said the most incendiary thing I could bring myself to say. "For all I care, don't buy her anything. Throw a plate at her." On every holiday, my mother would phone Ava and wish her happy holidays and chat with her politely for a few minutes. I knew that it pained her, but she insisted on observing the ritual. About a year before his death, my father was seriously ill. Ava visited my parents' home once a week and stayed for a long time. My mother prepared lunch for her and suffered all the while. "At last you have a babysitter. Why don't you take advantage of the opportunity to go out and have some fun?" I tried to add a touch of humor to the embarrassing situation. "No, that's not polite." My mother observed the rules of acceptable behavior as steadfastly as a rock. At the funeral, Ava stood alone, a slight distance from the other mourners, and all who knew the story, and everyone did, asked, "What? She Ava?" "Now I don't have to keep in touch with her at long last," my mother said with a sigh of relief. Nevertheless, 2 years after my father's passing, she told me, "I called Ava today to ask her how she is doing." After my mother died, and the obligation of loyalty no longer restrained me, I decided to meet with Ava, who was living in a retirement home in Haifa. Any past resentment had disappeared, and now I wanted to know about the double life my father had led, which I had heard about from a friend of Ava's. She knew my father from Ava's side and described an utterly transformed man. Father was always pedantic about his appearance and how he dressed. would sit reading for hours in one of a pair of matching armchairs in our living room, subscribed to the Philharmonic concerts, and had no social life. I discovered him to have been a thoroughly changed man in Haifa, one who dressed casually, went on trips all over the countryside, rode horses at a stable in the Galilee, and enjoyed a hectic social life. When Ava and I met, I felt that a part of my father I did not know had been given to me. She told me about a relationship with my father that had continued for more than 20 years. At our second meeting, I read her the story I had written about the suitcase. She was surprised. I never thought your mother hated me so much. She would always put a small gift in your father's bag for me. Une chanson des vieux amants, the song of the long-time lovers.
Mm.